I decided to take ayahuasca, but what could I expect from the most powerful drink on the planet? Actually, it's not a drink. It's an indigenous medicine that offers an expansion of consciousness that's very hard to explain. But it's not always pleasant, right? If you've tried it, share your story here. Welcome to the experience. My name is Douglas Flamino, and today I'm going to share with you how my experience taking ayahuasca was. I'll be really grateful if you leave a like here to support my work. It really helps. Just click there. It's so quick for you and so useful for me. Also comment Pocahontas. It matters. And that's my reason for doing this. There was a period in my life when I was reading a lot of books, and I really like books about psychology. And I was studying a book that talks about the states of mind. Really cool, and what each state of mind causes in itself. Right, which are waves, right? Our brain is always in waves, in vibrations, so there are 5 stages of the mind: beta, delta, alpha, theta, and gamma. And I ended up learning in this book how ayahuasca makes our brain shift from one frequency to another. That's really interesting. Ayahuasca has the ability to make our brain transition between 3 of these stages: alpha, theta, and gamma. And the fact that I'm an experimenter, that's the purpose of the channel. I'm someone who experiences myself. Everyone is, but I do it with more intensity. It made me very curious to know what this transition is like, this feeling of ayahuasca, what ayahuasca can bring about. I chose to try ayahuasca. It was because of that, especially since I've seen so many comments on my videos like, oh, take ayahuasca, try an experience with ayahuasca. Look, it's a very frequent request, and I really take your suggestions into consideration, thanks to your suggestions. I've already made a lot of videos here that would never have crossed my mind, so keep leaving your suggestions in the videos. What experiment do you think would be cool to try? So I reached out to my contacts to find a trustworthy place where I could take ayahuasca, a serious place, and I actually found one. I'm not going to mention the place here, and I'll explain why. At the end of this video, there was a whole controversy, a problem, and I'll explain why at the end of this video. I'm not naming the place, which is fine, right? I checked in, then something unexpected happened. I always share my plans and experiences with my family. Then my mom came to me and said, "Douglas, can I go with you to take ayahuasca?" I was really shocked. I said, "Mom, do you know what ayahuasca is? Do you know what it does? Do you know the possibilities?" And so she knew in a very superficial way, just vaguely, what could happen, and even so she wanted to go after. My mom's choice made sense as soon as I said wow, for those who don't know, just superficially. Ayahuasca is an indigenous medicine, which is a mixture of a root and a leaf. I don't remember the name. I think it's mariri and chacrona. I don't remember which one is the root, if the root is mariri or chacrona. That's it. It's a mixture of these 2 substances, and the tea made from these 2 plants promotes an expansion of consciousness. I'm not really a great scholar of ayahuasca. If anyone with authority notices I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. Sometimes I say the wrong thing in these videos. But ayahuasca makes our body produce dimethyltryptamine, and dimethyltryptamine has some effects. Pretty trippy, right? So yeah, I went there with my mom. We did all the preparations, you know? It's not just like, oh, I'm gonna take ayahuasca, you just go and take it. There's a prior protocol, you know, like not having heavy meals in the days before. You're not taking any controlled medication, psychiatric medication, things like that. There are a lot of prerequisites for you to go in a safer way. And then the fateful day to take ayahuasca arrived. We took a trip to get to this place. It wasn't that close to home. We traveled for about 4 hours. It was a place like this, deep in the woods in Inaruto, yet still fairly close to the city. But I've noticed that most of these places where they do ayahuasca rituals are in the middle of the woods. And I admit that I was a little scared at first because I've heard stories. And if you look up stories here on YouTube, even from people who have taken ayahuasca, it's something that shocks you. It goes far, you know? The thing is really powerful. Some things I've seen people report that made me a bit apprehensive about going were like, I died and came back to life again. I saw the other side of my personality. I had the worst and the best day of my life at the same time. You must be wondering, with stories like that, why did you want to go? Because for many people, even though there are these kinds of stories kind of scary, for many people it was something that changed their lives. Like from water to wine. I've seen very positive stories and people overcoming situations they hadn't been able to for a long time. No, ayahuasca is not going to make you overcome psychiatric problems. It won't, okay? Don't have that expectation. And I'm not saying that, but I've seen people share amazing stories. So, it's a wide range of things that can happen when your consciousness is expanded, and I wanted to go through that experience, and that's fine. We traveled to the place, but there was one thing that was making me a bit negative. I have a problem with the blood-brain barrier. What is the blood-brain barrier? I've discussed this in several videos, but the blood-brain barrier acts as a filter for what enters the nervous system. I've made a video on the channel explaining this anomaly in my blood-brain barrier which prevents me from experiencing effects. With substances, for example, I've never really gotten drunk, not even close, and it's not for lack of trying. Drugs, I was reckless and tried them just to see what would happen, right? Adolescence, medicine, headache. Impossible, I take a painkiller and it has zero effect, nothing happens. I've even had problems with anesthesia where it didn't work properly or didn't work at all, so it's a really problematic thing. And then I started to wonder, what if I go there to take part in the ritual, drink ayahuasca, and nothing happens? But the place had a doctor, so I thought, I'll talk to him, right? Just to see if there's any risk, you know? We get really apprehensive. It's something I didn't know what would happen. I explained my situation to him, you know? Regarding the blood-brain barrier, which was a result of my childhood meningitis.
The doctor said, "Wow, I've never seen this kind of anomaly." I know how the blood-brain barrier works, but I had never seen a case like this before. However, I believe it will work. Ayahuasca is more than physical, it's spiritual too, so let's have faith.
I was really curious. In fact, the place I went to has a really nice setup, really nice indeed. In fact, I suggest that if you decide, well, it's not really my recommendation, okay, for you to go take ayahuasca. But if you decide to do this at some point in your life, look for a really serious place, okay? Look for a place with a good setup to handle this, that has experience. Don't just go anywhere. Don't buy ayahuasca on your own and take it, you know? It's a serious thing, it's something powerful, so do it responsibly if you're going to do it, but honestly, I don't recommend it. Alright, okay. I got there with my mom, everyone was sitting in a big circle, like forming a circle, people sitting down, the more experienced people who took care of the ritual were there. In the middle, they started playing some music, kind of indigenous music, really pleasant, and they started serving people. It's an American glass, an American shot glass. And then, before the ritual actually started, there was a prayer. I was sitting right next to my mom. Yeah, we hear them saying the prayer, right? We kind of don't pray along, actually, we don't. It wasn't a place that seemed to be biased toward any particular religion. If it was, I didn't notice it, especially because I talked to people there and there were people from different religions. I also know that there are places that lean a bit more toward one religion or another, but even so, those places, as far as I know, okay, I'm not an expert. Even so, those places don't prevent anyone from joining because of religion. They're open to receiving everyone. But speeding up the process here, it seems that most of the places here are shamanic. And then, finally we took the ayahuasca, right? Everyone took it at the same time and the taste is really bad indeed. We weren't there just for tea, right? We were there to expand our consciousness. I was really anxious. Man, I never had a change in my state of consciousness, except during meditation. In meditation, I experienced that many times, but nothing else ever had an effect on me. So I was really curious with a lot of expectations. 10-15 minutes had passed and everyone was there. Indigenous music playing in the background, a nice little drum beat, everyone quiet. And I was thinking, wow, right? When is it going to work? It's gradual, you start to feel it, it gets stronger. I was really curious, and then when I went to ask my mom, I said, "Mom, are you feeling anything?" Right when I asked, she threw up. A little while later, more people started to show some kind of effect, right, from the medicine. And then I thought, okay, right? It might not have reached me yet, so I'll breathe, meditate quietly, and wait with an open heart. I stayed there meditating. In the indigenous song, yeah, they say that ayahuasca actually is one. It's a very musical medicine, right? The music makes a big difference in the outcome of the ritual itself. Some places have music made with drumming. Still, it's very traditional, right? And I was there waiting, and I started to notice the effect on people in a much stronger way, actually. One interesting thing to mention that they didn't point out is to bring a new set of clothes, because there's a good chance you'll go through a cleansing there, right? To vomit and get your clothes dirty. So just 2 details: light clothing, an extra set of clothes, and something comfortable. Because the thing lasts a long time, the effect lasts a long time. The ritual itself lasts, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours. It's quite a long time, so look for comfortable clothes for such a long ritual. I was a little apprehensive, you know, because a lot of people were vomiting, right? And nobody likes the feeling of vomiting, so I was a bit apprehensive. But I said, look, if I have to vomit, whatever, I'll just stay here in my little meditation, waiting and with an open heart. And so a lot of time went by, about an hour passed, and nothing happened. So the person who was there in the middle, right? One of the people who was there, who was in charge of the ritual, right? What is the word for the person who supported the ritual? Who, for example, when some people started to lose control a little, give them a day, look to vomit and things like that. And they would go to another place, they would get up, the person would go with them outside the place, which was an area with some bushes like that. Support there was very controlled. Even though they took ayahuasca too, I'm not sure if it was a smaller dose. They were fully able to give support to the people around them. And then one of the people there who stays to give support stood up and said, look, if anyone is interested in getting a second dose, you can come here. No one went, I got up and went there, right? And then he said, is everything okay? I said, yeah, nothing happened. I'm not feeling anything, no side effects. I don't know if it's normal for the first dose not to work and all that. Then he looked at my eye, my pupil and everything and said, look, it's not normal, but okay. Then he gave me a second dose, which seemed thicker and was harder to take. I took it and went there, right? To my little corner. I saw some of the support people there taking the second dose too. I wondered if they were in the same situation as me. I wasn't sure. Time passed by for hours. Some people had even settled down a bit, right? Apparently the effect was gradually wearing off. And I thought, man, nothing's really going to happen, right? I'm not feeling anything, nothing at all. I'm going to take a walk outside, you know, because it was a really beautiful place outside the lobby, you know, where we were. When I got up to walk outside, the support staff looked at me like this, you know? Scared, they even came after me and asked, are you okay? Do you want to go outside? Do you want to throw up? Something like that. I said, no, nothing happened. I'm just going to the bathroom and then for a walk. They asked again, nothing? Are you feeling normal? They talked with me a little bit to give me some support, and I really wasn't feeling anything. I went there, used the bathroom, took a walk outside, breathed, meditated a little while sitting outside, and there were some fruits to eat afterwards, right? And I went back there and the ritual was over. In fact, I didn't feel anything, but my mother, wow, the way my mother described it, I didn't expect it. She didn't expect it. I think it's something that nobody expects, right? After all, each person's experience is very unique. Well, and something happened that made me a little upset afterwards, right? Because I made a video at the time, this wasn't recent. It's been a while. I had to take that video down. I had to, well, out of common sense. I took that video down because I had already shared a story, right, about that experience. But the people who welcomed me there didn't like my story because I had treated it with a lot of humor. Just like, I treat a lot of stories here on the channel the same way, right? And for them it's something sacred, so they mentioned to me that they were upset by the fact that I was treating something that for them is sacred, with a lot of humor. And then I thought, man, they welcomed me really well, you know? It was excellent to change my mother's life there because after that day, my mother kept taking care of my family and she kept going. It was for an ayahuasca ritual. Nowadays, my father, my mother, my brother, my grandfather, my uncle, my sister, everyone has taken it. Because of that first experience I had, I can't say it was in vain because it changed the lives of several people in my family. Maybe fate put me in that place so my mother would have the courage to go for the first time so that all of this could happen afterwards. You know when you try to look on the bright side of things? So I don't regret going at all, even though nothing happened to me, right? So, I had posted this video a long time ago. They didn't like it because of the humorous tone, that's why I'm not using so much humor now, right? So I apologized to them, took the video down, and why don't I recommend anyone to take ayahuasca? I've already had many consciousness expanding experiences with meditation, and that's possible. I wouldn't want people to develop any kind of dependency or think that an ayahuasca ritual is going to change their life or cure something in them. I didn't want people to seek out a ritual to solve a psychological problem or think that it's going to be a miracle, putting all the responsibility on the medicine, you know? So I think it would be interesting if the person was like, I'm doing well in life, I'm going to do it, I'm going to have this experience, it would be safer, right? I've noticed that a lot of people end up getting really attached. And even though it doesn't cause any kind of chemical dependency, the person ends up getting really attached to something external to improve themselves. After all, I don't even know if it's unethical to suggest someone use an entheogen like this, right? I'll avoid risks. In fact, I've even tried using other indigenous medicines like rapé and sananga. I made a video here on the channel about it too, and it had zero effect. I did this with friends. My friends had a lot of results, like the effect really worked for them. For me, 0, 0, 0. So, a lot of people even suggested I try mushrooms, and then I talked to a doctor afterwards, right? And I said, if I consume mushrooms, will I get high, right? Because it's something I haven't tried yet. He said, if you didn't experience it with ayahuasca or anything else, then it's not there. I strongly believe it won't give you the effect. So, it doesn't make sense for me to keep trying these things anymore. It really seems like it's not going to work for me. No, maybe not working is actually working out, right? I don't even know where this would take me, and that's it. If you like this video, this story, even though I didn't get any results, I have to be 100% transparent with you all. I could, pretend or, fake an effect. Look, I could say I went there, felt this and that, like this, like that, wow, and I saw aliens and mandalas. Man, I really wish I had seen mandalas. People mention me and say it's so bright, so colorful and beautiful. That's an effect a lot of people mention, right? Seeing mandalas like that, and I was like, man, at least one little mandala. But I have to be 100% transparent here with all my stories, and that's the reality. If you appreciated my transparency, please leave a like. It really helps and supports my channel. See you next time. That we don't do, right? Go make a support deck. Coffee with milk.